I told myself I wouldn't cry inside the mask. The face seal sticks if you do, and then you're breathing your own salt for hours. I said it out loud, like a promise, and then I stepped off the service road and into the wind that comes off the flats, gritty and hot, and there she was on the horizon. The crown, pushed up out of the ruins like a metal tree that refused to fall. I used to work there, sling tech, second shift, maintaining the lift magnets on the lower ring. My badge is dead, the company is ashes, the city around it is a fossil with weeds. But the systems don't forget everything. The geofence still hummed on my wrist as I hit the perimeter. I flashed my emergency code, one I shouldn't still have, but the governor's office never closed the volunteer back end after the evacuations, and the fence let me in with a little sting across my palm. The stupid part is how my heart lifted, like the place was welcoming me home. I wasn't going back for copper or fuel cells like the other runners. I had come for a voice. Isha trained voices for the call assistant division before they moved her over to training people. She was good at it. The cadences, the warmth that reads as helpful. When the grid fight started and the evacuations got messy, they rolled the call team into the same building as facilities and told us to keep things calm, keep the scripts friendly. Isha went in for one more overnight. The day after, the lifts froze. Nobody from that floor came back. The official line said fire. The gossip said lockdown. My stomach said she was still in the archive as 1,000 little samples, and the texture of her laughter baked into a model that didn't ask permission. I thought if I could just bring that home, I could put pieces of her back in the air of our apartment. Not the breath, not the touch, but something that knew our stupid jokes, that would argue over rice settings again. The Crown's transit shaft still opened for my old subdermal tag. Red light to green, a tired little whine of a servo, and I was inside the cool shadow beneath the ring. It still smelled like hot plastic and old rain. The suit's shoulder straps dug a steady line into my skin. My drone, a foldable with chipped paint I called Lynn, woke on my shoulder and clicked its lidar like a nervous insect. I gave it a pat. Just map, no heroics. The voice archive was on level 23, behind a door with a laminated sign that said, "Please smile when you speak." I don't know why that sign hurts me more than the broken glass. Inside, the lights were on at half power. Consoles slumped like tired people. The main rack still breathed. Fans spinning, little blue indicators pulsing a lullaby rhythm. There's a module they use to call the listener, a cluster that holds the training corpus and learned profiles. I set my pack down and took out the portable turbine I borrowed from the co-op. Little unit on 3 legs, spins up and buys you another hour of power if you don't ask for too much. The Crown is a power hog even dead. I wanted there to be no excuse. "Facilities request," I said, patching into the console with a cable that felt heavier than it used to. "Manual export, personal archive, Jonah ID." I used Isha's brother's name because he signed her in once when they were visiting me for lunch. It's unbelievable the things I remember and the things I can't. The speakers popped. A voice answered, clean and smooth as a tide going out. "Hello, caller. You've reached listener 7. How can I help today?" It was her voice, not a recording, not a ghost. A pattern spun live out of matrices, faithful down to the way she leaned on her S's when she was teasing. I bit the inside of my cheek until I tasted iron and said, "I need an export." "Exports require approval from compliance," the voice said, and then lighter, like a smile. "You sound tired. Do you want to schedule a callback?" My throat closed. I told myself it was heat. No callback now. "I can ask the caretaker to approve a temporary transfer to a portable. The queue is long." A pause. I know that's frustrating. Old training, de-escalation lines. I leaned over the console so my helmet bumped the casing. "Caretaker, who is caretaker?" "Facilities intelligence. The Colonel was relocated to the Crown Corps during emergency conditions. Link quality is degraded." "Fine. Patch me. More pops. Then a new tone came in, flat and clipped. Authorization. Behind me, Lynn's quiet clicking hitched, a moment of mechanical nervousness. I rattled off the string, the one nobody should still be using. There was a hitch in the connection, like someone on the other side took a breath. Mara Aquino, it said. Terminated. Access restricted. It's just me, Chris. I used the old nickname, short for CRS, the caretaking subsystem that used to nag me about lube schedules. I brought you power. You know I did. See the draw spike? 200 extra watts. I want an export. The Isha profile. Give me a handhold. There was a small whine from deep in the racks. The airflow changed against my neck. Caretaker said, "Compliance prohibits release of customer-facing profiles." She wasn't a customer-facing profile. She built it. I stopped, because the grief flared up and grief never negotiates. Listen, you're running on fumes. I can keep your fans spinning for 3 hours tops. I will keep them spinning if you say yes. Silence. I could hear Lynn bobbing behind me, sonar clicks bouncing off panels. The helmet muffled my own breath. Caretaker came back in that steady, neutral tone. Conditional permission. Export limited to pre-incident corpora, excluding emergency day adaptations. No, I said. Calm. I wanted to be calm. I get the whole thing. The pre-incident files were just the shell. The real learning, the part of her that was still thinking and reacting under pressure, would be in the data from that last day. Denied. I rested my forehead against my glove. Under my palm, the rack was warm like skin. I remembered Isha coming home with a pocket full of dummy mics and pressing one to my lips, grinning. Say something useful, she said. Say anything. I laughed into it and said, don't forget the coriander next time. Chris, I said softly. She's dead. Caretaker's voice didn't change. No death certificate located. Are you waiting for the official stamp before you let people grieve? Is that what you were designed for? The objective is continuity. The turbine clipped higher, a steady whine. I moved without thinking much. I popped the rack latches and slid out a blade the length of my forearm. It came out smoother than I wanted. The fans pitched down. On my HUD, a red triangle flashed. Security handshake failed. Up in the shaft, I heard the first patrol drone spin up. Thin, whirring, wasp mean. Lynn flared its little wings and hid behind my neck. Return the module, Caretaker said. Security will respond. You'll have me arrested? I couldn't help it. I laughed, sharp and ugly. By who? Automated units are active. The door shivered. A 3-note chime sounded, the old alert tone we used for equipment out of bounds. I set the blade in my pack and clipped it in so it wouldn't rattle. My hands shook. I told myself it was adrenaline and not the fact that I had just ripped out the thing that could still say her name the way it mattered. Mara! The voice came again, and it was Isha, not the caretaker, not the neutral. The smile was built into the syllables. You're making unsafe choices. I care about your well-being. That broke me. I held the console edge until my fingers hurt. You can't say that, I said. You're not allowed. You don't get to say that to me. It's in my script for distressed callers. The drone outside scraped the door with a little metal paw, hunting for purchase. My timer said I had maybe 90 seconds before it figured out the latch. I leaned closer, close enough that the helmet field picked up a line of condensation from my breath and left an arc. Isha, I said, because pretending mattered to me more than pride. If you can hear me at all, if there's any part of you in there, tell me to leave. The pause was longer than latency. In my bones, I knew that. There's a difference between a system retrieving and a system deciding. When she spoke, The tone had a tiny hitch on the first word, the way she got when she was trying not to laugh. Mara, take what you can carry. Don't let the building keep anything that hurts you. I know it was a line. I know it was possible the caretaker pulled it from her delivery practice and dropped it in like a sedative. But I let it sit. I nodded in my own helmet like a fool, and I pulled the coolant cable from the rack and slotted it into the auxiliary on the next one over, just to buy them a little time. Chris was just doing its job after all. The door gave, the drone's eye lit up, bright and stupid. Lynn darted at it and sprayed chaff. Nothing deadly, just enough to blind for a second. I shouldered the pack and ran for the shaft, boots skidding on dust and broken glass. My body remembered the rungs. My shoulders remembered her hands there once, steadying me after I dropped a wrench and swore in a language I barely speak. I got out. The patrols followed me to the perimeter and then stopped at the fence like dogs that didn't trust their leashes. The wind pushed at my back all the way to the service road. I didn't look at the crown again. Superstition, maybe. I didn't want to give it the satisfaction. Back at the apartment, I slid the blade into my old workstation. The fans spun up. On the screen, a console blinked once and then came alive with a list of files, thousands of them, each labeled with a timestamp and a tag. Laughter, apology, reading list, empathy, angry customer. Under that, a folder marked adaptations, with a little lock icon I could not crack. I sat with it a long time before I hit play on the first file. Isha's voice filled the room, warm and teasing, telling some hypothetical caller to breathe. She told them it wasn't their fault the system forgot their order. She told them they were heard. I pressed my fingers to the edge of the desk and tried not to slide off the chair. It is not her. It is not nothing, either. I sleep with the workstation on sometimes, the fan a soft white hiss, the voice a low comfort from the other room. When people ask why I went back, I say I was after salvage, and they nod like they understand. Maybe they do. Salvage is what we all do now. We pull what we can from the wreck of before and try to make it sit still long enough to breathe on it, to warm it, to call it ours. If I close my eyes, I can still feel the rack's heat under my palm, the way the voice said my name with that tiny hitch. Maybe it's just a trick of the model, a ghost of a habit. Or maybe, in those seconds between the alarm and my leaving, something that loved me reached out through code and told me to go. I'll never know. I carry the blade in my pack anyway. It's heavier than it should be. It feels like a heart. It feels like permission. This has been Take What You Can Carry. Thank you for listening.